Talk about spouse benefits, all things spousal benefits related, divorce spouse, current spouse, independently entitled divorce spouse, surviving spouse, the whole nine yards and ball of wax. And hopefully, we're going to get you some updates for 2025. There are some breaking news, but let's go ahead. So, we'll talk about the spousal benefits first, and then I'll talk about three other things that are pertinent to this time of year. And then we'll get into our live Q&A. So it looks like we already got a bunch of questions on particular cases, spouse benefits. Hopefully I'm able to answer those. We have enough time, but should not be an issue. So I'll take about 20 minutes, talk about spouse benefits, and then we'll get directly into your questions. If you're new to my channel, my name is Ed Weir. I ran the third busiest Social Security office in the country. And now in my semi-retirement, I'm here making sure y'all get everything you earned from Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, disability, spouse benefits, and all the rest of it. Okay, let's stop stalling and get right into it. Got a lot to cover. Okay, spouse benefits. Um, Big issue. There's way too many people out there losing money from spouse benefits because they don't know the system. They don't know how to work the system. It's a maze. It's over 20,000 pages of Social Security policy. There's exceptions, the exceptions, exceptions. It's all a nightmare. That's why I'm here for y'all. All right. So one of the number of questions is, okay, when can I start spouse benefits? Do I have to wait 62, 60? When can I start benefits? Well, it really depends on your particular situation. For you can start spouse benefits at 60 if we're talking about surviving spouse benefits. So if you are married to someone that deceased, then you can start your surviving spouse benefits at 60. And just like everything else with Social Security, anytime you take your money early, you're reduced, other than like disability. But if you take spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, retirement benefits, anytime you take them before your full retirement age, your benefits are reduced. I'll get into a little bit more of the calculations here in a little bit. All right, 60 years old for a surviving spouse, even surviving divorce spouse, 62 years old if that person is still out there alive and kicking. So for your current spouse, you can start spousal benefits on that person's record if you have to be at least 62 years old. For a divorce spouse, same thing, you have to be 62 years old. Can you get spousal benefits at, like, say, 50? Yes, you can. They're called disabled widows benefits, DWIB, DWB. Social Security always has this cute acronym for everything. Disabled widows benefit. So if you were married to someone and they passed away, there's a time frame, it's like about 7 years, and you are disabled, then you can file for disabled widows benefits from the age of 50 to 59. All right. What about the requirements for how long to be married? All right. So 10 years for a divorce type situation. So if you're looking for divorce spouse benefits, surviving divorce spouse benefits, you had to be married to the person for 10 years or longer. There's a lot of exceptions with Social Security, but unfortunately, there's not one that says, you're okay if you're 9 years, 11 months and 37 or 30 or 29 days or something. No, there's no exceptions to that. Unfortunately, it have to be 10 years. However, there is kind of one exception. I just said there's no exceptions, but there is one exception. If you remarried the same person, and I looked it up, about 5% of people remarry the same person. They, I guess they think after a few years, and I guess that person wasn't as much of a, anyway, as I thought the person was. But in terms of Social Security, if you get divorced from someone, let's say you were married to someone for 5 or 6 years, you get divorced. If you remarry the same person by the end of the next calendar year, by the end of December 31st, the next year, then, and if you were married another 4 or 5 years, where they can add those two times together to come up for a total of 10 years, then you can get benefits. And not many people know about that. And Social Security employees don't know about that, most of them, because they don't run into that situation very often. But if you know anybody that is in that situation, make sure you go down to Social Security, and you might have to fight a little bit and convince them that, no, that is a real thing in the PALMS policy. All right. What about surviving spouse benefits? You had to be married to the person for at least 9 months. And this is not a divorce. You actually had to be married to the person when that person passed away. And if you were married for at least 9 months, then you're eligible to receive surviving spouse benefits. Everything else has to still be met, that you have to be at least 60 years old, and all that other kind of stuff. But in terms of the duration of marriage, at least 9 months. And yes, there are a couple exceptions there. If that person passes away before you were married 9 months, if it's an accident, that's an exception. Or if that person passed away in the line of duty in the military, that's an exception as well. What about common law marriages? Common law marriages, yes. Social Security does recognize common law marriages because states recognize, some states do recognize common law marriages. So Social Security has to go by the particular laws in that particular state in that particular time. So if you're, held out as a husband and wife in the 1970s or 80s or something like that, wherever you were, if the state recognized common law marriages at that particular time, then 10 years, then you can get those benefits. Um, don't worry about the documentation or trying to find out details. Social Security, as part of that 20,000 pages of policy, they have a reference of every state and every time period that common law marriages were recognized. So you just go in and say, "Hey, I was kind of married to this person. We didn't go through the official marriage and divorce or anything like that, but we were together. We held out our, as a husband and wife in Ohio for 10 years or so." And then Social Security could look at the policy and find out what kind of documentation you need to prove that. All right. Now, the important part is money. How much do you get? If it's a living spouse type benefit, that means that person is still out there somewhere. Then you can get up to 50% of that person's benefit amount, minus your own. You have to file for benefits on your own record first. So you file for benefits on your own record, and if that person's benefit amount is twice your benefit amount, then you can collect the difference. So let's say you get $400 from your record and you're entitled, the other person's is $1,000. Half of that is $500. So if you're your full retirement age, you get an extra $100. If you retire early, as everything, you don't get the full $100. It's reduced. Everything Social Security, again, is reduced if you start receiving benefits early. So up to 50%. Um, is surviving spouse benefits, it's up to 100%. Again, a lot of variables there. Early retirement, um, whether the person was receiving benefits, whether that deceased person was filed early. I'll get into a little bit of the nightmare on that. The surviving spouse benefits, depending on the particular situation, it's one of the most complicated kind of calculations Social Security has. But I want to caution you, there's a lot of people out there missing a lot of benefit, hundreds of millions of dollars. I think we've found in from people that watch these videos and ask questions, and then they go down the street and they talk to the little old lady they to see, says, "Hey, aren't you receiving benefits on?" "Oh, no, no." And they call up Social Security and they find out the person's been entitled to benefits for years and they didn't know it. So please go out there and help. But one of the hundreds of mistakes people make is they look at their MBA and not their PIA when they're determining the benefit amount. And what is that? The MBA is, again, internal Social Security speak for the monthly benefit amount. And the PIA is the primary insurance amount. That's the amount, your primary insurance amount is the amount you or your spouse would receive at full retirement age, not the reduced amount. The MBA is the reduced amount, how much your actual check is. And what we see happening is you have a spouse, current spouse or something, and you say, "Hey, I wonder if can I get money off of you? How much is your check?" "Oh, my check is this." "Oh, my check is this." "So I guess it's not twice as much. So I guess I can't get any money." No, no, that's not the number you look at. That's the MBA. And, one of them or two of them could be reduced because you're receiving, Medicare, paying the Part B premium, or one could have been reduced benefits and the other wasn't. So you don't look at those numbers. You have to look at the PIA, the benefit, your benefit amount if you had waited till full retirement age. And you say, "Ed, how do I find out that?" Easy. Well, relatively easy nowadays, considering Social Security is at a 50-year low in terms of staffing because politicians are trying to kill Social Security to privatize it and give it to their buddies. But anyway, I digress. Call the 800 number, 772-1213. Call Social Security. Sit on hold for 3 hours. While you're waiting on hold, contact your congressman. Go to the website and say, "Hey, why am I on hold in your office for 3 hours?" Anyway, and say, "Hey, got my spouse here. I want to find out if I can get any money on this person." And they'll say, "Hey, what's your Social Security number?" They'll look at your PIA. They'll look at the other person's PIA. And if one is less than half, they'll say, all right, let's set you up an appointment to get you some more money. If you are looking for a divorced spouse that you've completely lost contact with and you don't know the person's social security number or anything like that, no problem whatsoever. Just call up Social Security, same thing, 800 number, sit on hold for 3 hours, and say, hey, I was married to someone, in my 20s and 30s, don't know what happened to the person, don't have the social security number. I said, no problem. They'll ask you the person's name, the date of birth as well as you know it, and where that person was born, what city and state they were born as well as you know it. I've found I have never not found a social security number with just okay, the person was born somewhere in North Texas in the 60s, and here's the person's name. I was able to find the social security number. So if the person is not able to find the social security number, then that's just a bad employee. Call back again. They won't give you the social security number, and they usually don't tell you how much that benefit amount is until you have to prove documentation. You have to prove that you have a relationship to that person. So they'll say, yeah, there's more money there. So let's set you up an appointment. You go to your appointment, you provide the marriage certificate and divorce decree to prove the 10 years, and then they'll tell you how much you get at that time. So don't look at the checks, look at call and find the full benefit amount, the PIA. And with any benefits, retirement spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, there is a limitation in terms you work. There's an annual earnings test, annual earnings limit. So anything over that, then Social Security, when you're looking about retiring early, for 2025, it's $23,400. So if you're going to receive retirement spouse benefits, surviving benefits, before your full retirement age, then you have to stay under the annual earnings limit. If you don't, then Social Security will hold back $1 for every $2 you go over. And this applies for people always say, does it also apply for surviving spouse benefit? Yes. You have to limit your income under 23,400. Anything over that, $1 for every $2. Once you hit your full retirement age, 66 and 8 months or 67 or whatever that particular year, then the annual earnings test, the limit triples. So for next year, it's $62,160. For 2025, it's $62,160. Anything over that, Social Security holds back $1 for every $3 you go over. And here's what a lot of people miss. The first year you start your benefits, any benefits, surviving spouse, retirement on your own record, there's a monthly earnings limit. Let's say it's July and you want to start your benefits in July, but from January till June, you made $1 billion. And you're like, that's over 23,400. No, Social Security doesn't care. They only care about when you start your benefit. So starting July, are you going to be under the monthly limit? What's the monthly limit? $1,950 for 2025. Are you going to be under $1,950? Yes. Are you going to stay under $1,950 for the rest of the year? Yes. Then Social Security doesn't care about the $1 billion you made before you started your checks. They only care about how much you're going to earn after you start receiving your checks. And then the following year, 2026, yes, you still have to stay under the annual earnings limit. You can only do that monthly thing once. Okay. And then let's see, there's a divorce decree. A lot of people missing benefits on this is that they have a divorce decree. And in the divorce decree, it says, you'll never get the 1972 Chevelle, the dog, or my Social Security. That the last part is not relevant. Social Security doesn't care about that. So there's a lot of people out there that, says, yeah, I'd like to get that person's Social Security, but it says right there in the divorce, I couldn't. No. You might have a different thing where the divorce decree says, okay, if you receive my Social Security, I give you less alimony or something like that. But that's, that's not relevant. Social Security doesn't care about that. You might care about that, depending on, what you negotiated. But Social Security doesn't care about, you're not entitled to my Social Security because you are entitled to Social Security because if you 10 years, married to the person 10 years, the benefit amount is twice and all that kind of stuff. So when you take your divorce decree into Social Security, they only look at one thing or two things. They look at the plaintiff and defendant, I guess, the names, and they look at when the divorce occurred. That's it. They don't care about anything else. Page 2, page 3, page 4. They don't care. And you need the marriage certificate. They just look at the bride and the groom and the date of marriage. So they just look at those 3 pieces of information, 4 pieces of information, names, and yes, marriage and divorce. That's it. They don't care about anything else. So if you know anybody out there, there's a lot of people out there that says, yeah, I just can't get that person's benefits because it said in the divorce. Please we've got an awesome community here on this channel, and subscribe and like and all that kind of good stuff. But people watch these videos not for them. Don't watch it just for you. Think about everybody around you that is struggling to survive out there, and let's make sure we help them as much as possible. All right, next is IEDS, independently entitled divorced spouse benefits. Another mouthful. A lot of people missing this one. This is if you were married to someone 10 years and all that stuff, and you currently receiving benefits on your record, and um, you're sitting around waiting for that person to file for benefits because you think that person has to have started benefits for you to start benefits. You're missing money. The other person, your divorced spouse, does not have to be receiving benefits. They only have to be at least 62 years old. If they're at least 62 and for whatever reason they're going to wait until 65 or 67 or 80 years old just to spite you or whatever the case may be, I've heard that case. Doesn't matter. You are independently entitled, regardless if they filed or not. The only stipulation is you had to be divorced for 2 years. So a final divorce had to be, 2 years ago. And if that's the case, again, you file for benefits on your own record. And if your divorced spouse's benefit is twice your benefit amount, then you get those benefits. And it doesn't matter that they filed or not. And another thing, people, this is a kind of battle. Sometimes I win, sometimes I don't. Is people say, "Well, I don't want anything from that person. That was a terrible person. I don't want one penny from it." It's like, well, it's number one, they won't know. It doesn't affect their new family or new children or anything like that. It doesn't take any money away from them, and they won't even know if you file for benefits on another divorced spouse's record. It doesn't affect the new wife, their new husband, the new kids, or anything like that. Doesn't reduce their benefits. And some people say, well, even then, I still don't want anything. But yeah, so sometimes I win that battle and say it doesn't affect them, and it's not really their money. And sure, it's kind of because you were married to that person. So some people said, no, I don't want anything. So anyway, you can only try. Delayed retirement credits, DRCs, delayed retirement credits. So if you have a spouse, current spouse or divorced spouse or surviving spouse, a deceased spouse, and they waited after their full retirement age to receive benefits, they get what's called delayed retirement credits. You get 8% every year you delay after your full retirement age, starting your benefits. So if you wait till 70 and your full retirement age is 67, you've waited 3 years, so your benefit amount increases by 24%. However, current spouses, if that person is still alive out there, current spouses do not get those delayed retirement credits, that extra 24%, for example. Surviving spouses do. Surviving spouses do. And one of the things I want to throw out there before I forget is Social Security. When you call them up sometimes and you say, hey, I want to see if I'm entitled to any benefits on this person's record, and they say no. And you think, okay, that's it. So I'm done. I will never call Social Security again. What the Social Security representative should say, possibly, is because that person is out there alive and kicking, you're only entitled to up to 50%, and your benefit amount is not twice the amount. So therefore, right now, while that person is still out there, you're not entitled to benefits. What they should say, they should add, is if anything should happen to that person, then you need to file for benefits because you will be entitled to benefits because it's not the person's benefit amount doesn't have to be twice. It just if it's $1 more, you're entitled to that $1. And some people, get into live Q&A here and says, yeah, I've been receiving, benefits $100 or something from an old spouse, and all of a sudden my benefits doubled. What happened? Well, I hate to tell you the news there that that person's passed away. If you're on that record and as a spouse, and a divorced spouse, and you're receiving even $1, if that person passes away, Social Security, you don't have to really do anything. It automatically just switches it up, and unless you're under your full retirement age and it's a surviving type thing. But usually, if that person passed away, or if you get, Social Security should reach out to you and say, hey, you're still, under your full retirement age. Do you want to go ahead and switch to this and that? And so there's a lot of, particularly surviving spouse benefits, there's a lot of complications, particular situations. And the most difficult one is the widow's limb. It's basically if you were married to someone and that person passed away, how much are you entitled to? It really depends. If that person took their benefits really early, then you might be limited to how much you can receive on that person's record. That's called the widow's limb. Social Security calls it the rib limb. And usually, if you wait to receive benefits from spouse benefits, retirement benefits, surviving spouse benefits, the longer you wait, the more your benefits go up. But in this particular case, if your deceased spouse took their benefits early, your benefits might not increase anymore after about 62 and a half years old. So if you know your deceased spouse, a deceased divorced spouse started their benefits early, not disability. That's not considered taking retirement early because that's disability. But if you know that that person started their benefits really early at 62, 63, you might call Social Security around the age of 62 and a half when you're a few months before 62 and a half. And the easiest way to do it is say, hey, I want to see if I'm entitled to any surviving spouse benefits. And they'll say yes. And you'll say, how much? And they'll tell you X amount. And you'll say, okay, what about next year when I'm 63 and a half? Does it increase? And they'll say, oh, wait, no, it doesn't increase anymore. That means that widow's limb has triggered and your benefit won't increase. And the only way really to know 100% for sure is call Social Security and ask them those two questions. How much if I start my benefits now? How much if I wait for a year? And if it increases next year, then you'll know that you're not part of the widow's limb. Okay, what about remarriage? If you are receiving spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, and you remarry, they stop. Um, if you're receiving surviving spouse benefits, you can remarry after the age of 60 years old. So if you're married, if you're receiving divorce spouse or benefits or like that, and you remarry, you could be eligible for benefits on that new person's record. Sometimes you had to be married 1 year, but there are, guess what? There are exceptions on that one as well. All right, so I think we went down the list pretty well on all things spouse benefits. Let's return to a little bit of the new stuff coming up here. And then I will open it up to questions and we'll get to as many questions as we can. This is the end of the year. There's a lot of people that were denied income related money. That is SSI, supplemental security income, what Social Security, um, they administer. Medicaid, food stamps, TANF, whatever the case may be. If you were denied something income related, and the reason you were denied is because you made, $1 or $5 or $10 or $30 or $50 over, you just missed it. It's time to apply again because every year those levels go up. So if you just missed it by $50 last year, maybe it's gone up $50 and now you can receive those type of benefits. So it's a good time during the new year to go out there and see if you're entitled to anything to make your life as easy as possible. And then we also have, starting here in a few days, the Medicare open enrollment period. So this is an opportunity, if you had a Medicare Advantage plan, you can switch during this 3-month period. So if someone convince you to switch to something and you go in January and find out that, oh, this ain't the plan for me. My prescriptions went up. The doctor isn't on this, on the network on this particular plan. Then January, February, March, you can switch. You can only switch one time though. So you can switch. So if you switch in January, your new plan will take effect February 1st. And if you need help, reach out. Where is it? Right there. Reach out to Chapter Medicare. That's my Medicare partners, and they can help you out. They're kind of short staffed right now because of the holidays, but once we finish all the festivities, they will be back in full force. So if you're calling them now, at the end of the year, might be a little bit of a hold, but persevere. But you have January 1st, the entire month of January, to find yourself a new plan. And there's also people receiving their IRMA, and that's another Medicare Part B. If you're a high income wage earner, based on 2 years ago, you're going to be paying extra for Part B. Everybody pays $185. unless you get Medicaid to pay for it or something. But you pay $185, but high income wage earners pay another $100, $200, $300, $400. But there is called thing called the life changing event. So when you receive your IRMA letter, it'll say if you disagree, you can fill out this SSA 44, which is a life changing event, and says yes, I did make $300,000 2 years ago, but I've since stopped working, and that is a life changing event, and they will recalculate and hopefully bring you back to $185. Unfortunately, the sale of a house is still considered capital gains. So some people have to pay that extra for a year. The Part B, it's not a lifetime penalty, like not signing up for Part B at the right time or anything like that. It's just a 1 year, unless you make $300,000 the next year, then it reapplies the next year. So, all right, I think we did a pretty good job on going through all that. Hopefully, it wasn't too confusing or boring or useless. And let's get to your questions. And remember, it might be useless for you. If all that information was useless for you, then great, awesome. That means you've kept abreast of everything and you're good, and you didn't need any help with that. And you're like, yep, I'm good on everything. Awesome. Now go out there and help other people, please. All right, let's see. Shirley, my sister used to work for LA School District as a teacher for about 20 years. She retired about 5 years ago. Is she eligible to get money from the 20 years she worked as a teacher? Yeah, so for the CalSTRS, CalPERS, whatever situation, whatever organization she was in, she would have to reach out to them to find out if she's entitled to any benefits from them. All right. Didn't get my check today. Will probably be coming on the 31st. Yeah. So I did one yesterday about the pay date. And those are the one I did yesterday about the pay dates. This SSI people usually get it on the first. And if you're, born the first 10 days of the month, you get your benefits on the second Wednesday. But people that were receiving their benefits, what it changed in 1997, I think it was. If you've been receiving your benefits for a long time, then you're part of the old pay system. Yeah. So, all right, Tammy, I turned 62 in 2025. I'm filing for SSD, Social Security Disability, in 2 weeks. Can I file for benefits from my ex, even though he's 8 years younger than myself? I collect adoption assistance as well. Does that affect anything? No, adoption doesn't affect anything. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so you're gonna file for Social Security Disability. You're gonna file for because you're gonna be turning 62. So what you can do, it's called a RIB-DIB. You can file for retirement, the RIB, retirement insurance benefits, because you're 62, and you can file for DIB if that's what you're looking for, disability. You can file for both at the same time. You won't get both, but the problem with disability now, because of the short staff, it takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months, and people just can't wait that long without any money. So they file for early retirement, get that check coming in while they're sitting there waiting for the disability to get a decision back. But in terms of your ex-spouse, no, that person has to be at least 62 years old. I'm about to apply to collect my Social Security a few months early, 66 plus one, then my spousal benefit together. But will all these updating possible changes are lurking? Should I wait and see, or what? Um, I've, the several decades I've been doing this, I have never, I've always been super, Marine Corps gung ho positive about, oh, I think our politicians will fix it. I was always optimistic, but we've been, it should have been fixed. Biden should have fixed it, and Trump should have fixed it when he was president before, and Obama should have fixed it, and Clinton should have fixed it, and the Bushes should have fixed it. But they didn't do their job, and everybody in Congress should have fixed it. But because they didn't do their job and we didn't force them to do their job, then there are going to be cuts. And unfortunately, as of right now, we're looking at about 2034. If the president signs that Social Security Fairness Act, then it's probably going to be about 6 months or so earlier that we're going to run out and the cuts are going to start. And it's probably going to increase to about 22% or so with that act it's about to be passed. It's $190 billion more out of the trust fund. If the next president does some of the stuff he's been talking about, then there's going to be more cuts sooner. So again, I've for decades, I've never, said take the political, landscape into consideration, but It doesn't matter who the next president was. If Vice President Harris had became the next president, it would be the same exact thing. Time is running out. If nothing is done within the next 1 or 2 years, then yeah, it's unfortunately the cuts are going to be automatic. And it's no, well, they're not going to cut it for people already receiving benefits. No, that's not the case. It's by law, Social Security can only pay out what it receives in. So if it receives in $1 trillion, which yearly they do receive about $1 trillion, and they have to pay out $1.3 trillion, then cuts have to happen. 30% cuts have to happen. So it's automatic, unfortunately. So we need to do something, and I have a petition down there to do something. The next president said, "I'm not going to raise the retirement age. I'm not going to cut benefits." Well, okay, fine, but that doesn't help because something needs to be done. Because the cuts are automatic. The cuts won't happen during the next presidency. It's going to happen just after. So whoever replaces him, then the cuts are going to start, unless something is done now. So we have the next year or two is crunch time. It's either now or never. That's why I'm going to keep haranguing on this for the next 2 years. I apologize, but that's the way it is. So you have to take, in your particular situation, you have to take everything, your age, your health, your genes, whether you need the money, longevity in your family. Is it going to put you in a higher tax bracket, and what you think the political landscape is going to be? So, yeah. My dependent adult child will apply for SSDI under his father's Social Security retirement benefit. Awesome. It's called the Disabled Adult Child. Yep, DAC. Will the child's SSDI benefit be reduced by 1/3 reduction rule like it was under SSI? No, no. He'll just get essentially the higher benefit amount. They usually offset it. So yeah, probably more than likely his SSI will stop because he'll, probably be receiving over $943, which is the limit this year for SSI. What is it next year? $957 or something $967 for next year for SSI. But if he's receiving retirement, a disabled adult child benefits under a retirement claim, then he's going to receive 50% of his father's full benefit amount. So if father's full benefit amount, if he would have waited till his full retirement age is $2,000, the child will get $1,000. If the child gets $1,000, then no more SSI. And that might affect if he is getting Medicaid or something through the state, that might kick him off the state Medicaid, but there are exceptions. Each state kind of does it a little bit different. So if he's start to be entitled to those benefits, make sure you reach out to every other organization that he receives benefits for and update them on his new amount. Retired canine. The dog is able to type. This is awesome. I assume this is the canine handler. But anyway, I'm 64 and am on SSDI for the past 12 years. My spouse passed away. Can I collect his Social Security? Not instead, but yes, possibly. There's a lot of people who miss this. Please like, subscribe, share, and all this stuff because it teaches this algorithm. This is important stuff. I understand cat videos are super important too, but people are struggling out there. And this is a perfect example. And hopefully, retired canine didn't miss tens of thousands of dollars. People that are receiving Social Security disability insurance, they think they can't receive any other benefits, or they think that if they receive any other benefits, that will kick them off disability and therefore they will lose their Medicare. Neither of those are true. So if you're receiving disability benefits and you're entitled to spouse benefits, divorce spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits, it doesn't matter if those benefits are higher than yours. One offsets the other. The calculations are there. But you can receive Social Security disability insurance. And because you're receiving disability, your Medicare will continue. And on top of that, you get some extra surviving spouse benefits or divorce spouse benefits or independently entitled divorce spouse benefits or current spouse benefits. So you can have all three of those things. So you can have Medicare, disability, spouse benefits. If your benefits are low, you can get SSI as well. And if you get SSI, you probably qualify for Medicaid. If you get that, you can also get the extra help with prescription drugs. And if you have Medicaid and Medicare, you can be eligible for the Medicare Savings Program, which pays for your Medicare Part B, puts another $185 in your pocket. And because you're dual eligible, you can get one of those Medicare Advantage dual eligible plans with those grocery cards you see advertised in a really scammy way, but they do exist. They're just advertised really bad. So one person and people throughout the country have all of those, but there's a lot of people that are missing pieces of that puzzle because they don't know, and the entire Social Security system is kind of a maze, and the way it interacts with So yes, let's help as many people as we possibly can. So yes, I would reach out. Retired Canine. Long story short, I would call up Social Security, give them that person's Social Security number if you know it. If you don't know it, just tell them what the person's name. They'll find the Social Security number, and they'll see if there are any more benefits. If that person's benefit amount is more than yours, they'll say, "Yep, let's file a claim." You'll need um, your marriage certificate, divorce decree, death certificate, whatever the case may be, and you'll get some more money. And again, your Medicare will continue because your disability continues. Don, I received 100% rating through the VA. I was told by other veterans to apply for SSDI. I did go to my local Social Security office and I was told that I did not qualify for SSDI. Does that sound right? Yeah, it really depends on your particular situation. So if you went there and they said you don't qualify, that, pretty much immediately, if they said you don't qualify and you weren't waiting like 6 to 9 months or something, that means it was a technical denial. That means you didn't pay Social Security 5 out of the last 10 years or whatever the case may be. Um, but if it wasn't a, immediate technical denial, then sounds like it was a medical denial, that they did take your claim, they sent it up to the DDS, the Disability Decision Service in your particular state, and they came back and said you weren't disabled, which sounds strange. Um, so yeah, I, I would, yeah, find out what exactly why they denied you. Was it a technical denial because you're not insured? For disability, you need to be insured two ways. The one is just like retirement, you had to pay into the Social Security for 10 years, 40 quarters. So you're insured. Okay, I'm insured. But for disability, you also have to be what's called currently insured. So 5 out of the last 10 years, at some time, any of those 5 out of the last 10 years before you became disabled, you actually had to work and pay into Social Security. So maybe that's the case. But in terms of medical denial, if you're 100% VA related, they're completely different. I had in my office, I'm a Marine Corps sergeant, so I had a lot of veterans working in my office, and a lot of them were receiving disability from VA, but Social Security would consider them not disabled because Social Security is completely different than the VA. Social Security defines disability as the inability to work. So maybe, Don, they have determined that you're 100% disabled for the VA, but as in terms of Social Security, you have the ability to work. So that might be it. All right, Jennifer, I receive a pension and will be affected by the windfall elimination exemption. Can I get half of my ex-spouse benefits married or just my benefit? He is 60 and I'm 62. Um, so yeah, that's the new law that's coming out, and they will contact you. And yeah, if the president signs it, so you need to once the things is signed and it becomes law, then I guess we can start talking about that. I'm completely against that because it's money that was intended for low income workers, and there's a bunch of people that are going to receive that extra benefit, which wasn't intended for them. Thank you very much for your efforts. Are there companies that I can join if I have a disability? Because the work I do does not provide such a thing. What are the companies that you recommend to join? Not sure what type of companies you're talking about. Yeah. If you're looking to go to work, the Social Security Administration does contract with a company called Ticket to Work, and they help you transition to work. So maybe reach out to them if you're receiving Social Security disability insurance and you're interested in maybe going back to work. Then reach out to them and see how they can help you out. I'm a 59 age widow. When should I start to file for survivor benefits? Yesterday, immediately. Um, Well, if you're okay, wait a second. If you're disabled, immediately. Um, if you're not disabled, then 60 years old. So a couple of 3 months before you turn 60 years old, you can go ahead and file for those five benefits. But again, remember you have to limit your work. Next year is the $23,400. So as long as you're not working or you're basically staying under that, then you can go ahead and file for survivor benefits. And here's one trick that for survivor benefits, you don't have to file for benefits on your own record first. For survivor benefits, you can file for the survivor benefits at 60 years old, and then when you hit 62, you might want to switch on to your own record, or you don't touch your own record and you let your own record, your own benefit amount increase. It increases all the way until you hit 70 years old. And then when you hit 70, you switch from survivor benefits to benefits on your own record. So that's a strategy that you can't do if that person, your spouse or ex-spouse is still alive. If your spouse or ex-spouse are still alive, then you have to file for benefits on your own record first, and then you get the difference. So Papa Blair, what is all the stuff about those of us on Social Security getting a check in 2025? I'm 78 years old. I've been on Social Security for over 12 years, Pops. Um, there is the 3% of people that worked for what's called non covered government entities that didn't play into Social Security for the past few decades. If President Biden signs the HR 82, then they will receive essentially extra money that was intended for low income people. But if you did not work for a government agency that did not participate with Social Security, then unfortunately, yeah. And there's also the IRS for 2021. Some people didn't get their stimulus check for 2021, and the IRS is fixing that right now. I think it's anywhere from $1,000 to $1,400. So that's completely automatic. The only thing I guess is they say if you didn't file your taxes for 2021, then you need to do it so we can give you that extra money. So there's that. I get only 30% of my ex-husband's benefits because I had to take them early. Now that we are both turning 70, can that percentage increase to 50%? We were married for 21 years. No, once you're reduced, then if you continue to receive those benefits, you're always reduced. So no, it doesn't increase once you hit 70 or 80. Once you're reduced, if your benefits have always continued, then you'll always be. Well, what do I mean by always continue? If you take your benefits early, retirement benefits, spouse benefits, or whatever, and let's say retirement benefits, you take retirement benefits 30 months early. And then after 10 months, you go back to work and you don't receive any more checks. Once you hit your full retirement age, then you can restart your benefits, but you're not starting in it at the 30-month reduction. You're starting it at the 10-month reduction because you only took checks for 10 months. So that's one of those things that a lot of social media people say out there. If you take your money, it's always reduced. Well, no. I wish social media people out there would stop talking about Social Security when they don't know about it. But anyway, decided to quit Part B. I'm 65 in great health. I cannot afford the 174, 185 that they're deducting. I would, yeah, it's your decision, but I would probably reconsider that because, you quit Part B. And then if you sign up for it next year, 2 years from, 3 years from now, when you need it, then you're going to be penalized 10% for every 12 months you didn't. And you can only sign up during January, February, and March, the general enrollment period. So if something happens in July, you're SOL until February 1st, and you get the penalty for the rest of your life. So if it's an issue, you just can't afford it. I don't know if you can change your mind and call Social Security and say, forget about it. I want to keep my Part B. Reach out to Medicaid. Reach out to your state Medicaid office, the Department of Social Services, Department of Welfare, whatever they call it in your state, and apply for the Medicaid. And if you're approved, they might pay for your Part B. It's called the Medicare Savings Program. So you get Medicaid, you get the Part B paid for, and then you can get those Medicare Advantage dual eligible plans. And if everybody that watch my channel on a regular basis knows, I always recommend Medicare supplement plans first, a plan N or a plan G. I like plan N because I'm cheap like that, but either one of those is fine. But if they're just not right for you, usually it's a financial issue, then get a Medicare Advantage. But to be without is because there's so many gaps of original Medicare. Part B, if you get $100,000 Band-Aid from your doctor, then you have to pay you have to pay $20,000. Medicare pays 80% of that, $80,000. You have to pay the other $20,000. So yeah, I would really take a hard look at that. So if my spouse draws on my Social Security board before her full retirement age, will that also reduce her spouse death benefits? Good question. No. Yeah. So if you're receiving a spouse's, started benefits off of your record at 62 and they get the full reduction, it depends on how old that person is when you shuffle off your mortal coil. If she is, yes, Norma, yes. If she is her full retirement age at that time, then she will receive 100% of your benefit amount. And it'll just, she'll continue to receive, her benefit amount if her benefit amount is, reduced or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it'll be switched up to 100%. If you pass away before her full retirement age, then it's reduced. Yes. So, yes, please hit the like button. Please, yes, gets this information out there. Can I send my SSA 44 by faxing it to the nearest Social Security office instead of walking it in? Absolutely. And if you fax it in, use one of those faxes that has the kind of the transmission receipt, that it actually went through there. But once it goes in there, it goes onto a system called WorkTrack. It's a paperless document system that I helped to design, so I know it works perfectly. Whether a human being actually takes your document out of WorkTrack and processes it correctly, I can't vouch for that one. But if you fax it in there, it'll go into a system, guaranteed, because I built it. So there's that. What does it mean when you said that they're doing a final non-medical evaluation? See if I'm still eligible for disability benefits at the local Social Security office. Um, so when you file for disability at your local Social Security office, and they ask you all the questions, your name and disability and what medications you're taking and all that kind of stuff. They build everything up, and then they send it to the Disability Determination Services. It's a state agency in your state, and they do all the medical stuff. They get all the medical, medical records from the doctor and all that kind of stuff. And then if they determine you're eligible, if they approve it, then they send it back to the local office, and the local office, does kind of the final things for payment. Confirm you just didn't get a job yesterday, and confirm you're still entitled. See if there's any children. So that's the final stage. So, how do you know when your disability is severe after they approved it? The letters don't say. But severe, yeah. If you're approved, then it sounds severe to me. It's your inability to work. I'm 67 and have been married to the same man for 50 years. Wow. 17 high school sweethearts. Shouldn't his check keep going into our bank account if he dies? No. If he passes away, then his check stops. Yeah. And unfortunately, I've had to tell probably thousands, tens of thousands of people that reality is people think, I'm receiving $1,000. My spouse is receiving 2,000. So we've got a total of $3,000 coming in the house. If he passes away, he or she passes away, then I've heard I get his check. Yes and no. You get his check, his or her check minus your own. So yesterday, person was here, $3,000 total coming into the house. He passes away, and you continue to get your $1,000. His check was $2,000, so you get $2,000 minus your own, which equals $2,000. So you lost $1,000 of income coming into the house. And unfortunately, I've taken tens of thousands of survivor claims, and there's just too many people that think both checks will continue because they hear that when a spouse dies, you'll receive that check. You will, but it's minus your own. So yeah, that was always a very, very tough conversation to tell people that. So I'm on widow's benefits since I was 60, currently 64, and have worked the whole time. So I have been only been getting 5 months. I've been told when I retire in 2025, will I get the 7M a year that I missed? Yes, exactly. It's called the ARF, adjusted reduction factor, and that's pretty much automatic. So when you're receiving a benefit and the computer system, once you hit your full retirement age, the computer system looks at it. And, if you restart your benefits, and they say, hey, we've been reducing you for 20 months, but you only took 10 months. So yeah, that's automatic. Is the IRS connected to Social Security? No. I mean, that's how Social Security gets all their what you paid into Social Security. The IRS notifies Social Security of that, and you can check that. And I would recommend you check that, and I recommend you tell everybody particularly all your young relatives and stuff, um, to check your earnings record. Make an account at SSA.gov. Go in there and do the my Social Security and check your earnings record, because that's how Social Security determines how much you're going to make in retirement and disability or survivor benefits, is based on how much you actually paid into Social Security. So if it's wrong, then you're going to get incorrect benefits for the rest of your life. So, Sophia, thank you. I now retired 8 months early and received mine and deceased spouse benefits. Thank you very much. Oh, you're welcome. Awesome. That you got everything. Hopefully they took care of you at your local office. Oh, I got to give a shout out. I was talking to someone yesterday. They went into the Needles. Needles is it California, Arizona? But yeah, there's that in the desert. It's kind of in between. I think it's California, Needles. Anyway, out in the desert, Needles, and the district manager there was awesome. So we got to give a shout out to the excellent Social Security staff when we hear of it, because politicians, if Social Security did an outstanding, stellar job in every single office in the country, then y'all would do everything you would to protect your local Social Security office, to make sure they were, protected, and were still able to do their job, because they really took care of you. Politicians, politicians that want to destroy Social Security don't want that to happen. They don't want you to support Social Security, so they try to choke it and drown it in the bathtub by robbing it of resources, so people are not able to help you, and they're inundated, and now they have to go with this reservation only system. And politicians are, yep, hey, it's like, excellent, our plan is coming to fruition. People are hating Social Security, and but it's the reason the politicians are trying to choke it and privatize it and give it over to their buddies on Wall Street. Okay. um, let's see. Do your homework. Let's see. Not all Social Security workers know what they're doing. Yes, unfortunately, there's because Social Security is, if they're even able to hire someone, it takes 2 years to learn the job, and unfortunately, Social Security offices are putting people at the window that they shouldn't, because they need to be in the back, doing some more training, but unfortunately, there's just so many people that they need help, and they say, well, hopefully don't do too much damage, but we need to answer the phones. So Dr. Weird, okay, hopefully that's just typo, has taught me a lot. About to collect my deceased husband's Social Security in March. Glad I learned a lot from this channel how to do it. Awesome, awesome, thank you. I don't mind my name being spelled like that anyway. It's been happening since I was in grade school. So anyway. Old Marine Corps sergeant. I'm so sensitive. I'm disabled at 55 when my late husband became disabled at 61, and he died at 64 3 years ago. My husband used to receive higher amount than mine. I now received a much lower amount. Will that increase? So you're disabled at 65 when your late husband became disabled and died at 64. Okay, so it sounds like possibly you weren't eligible for the disabled widows benefits, or you missed that. Remember, the disabled widows benefits, if you were disabled before the age of 50 and 59, when you're 55 right now, I would reach out and see if you're eligible for that DWIB, disabled widows benefits. You won't receive 100% for the disabled widows benefits. You receive 71.5% of that person's full benefit amount. But I would reach out and make sure, if you're not already receiving that disabled widows benefit, I would definitely reach out. So, but if his was just, again, yours is going to be reduced to 71.5%. So maybe his was higher, but not that much more higher. And once you do the 71.5%, yours comes out to be higher. That might be the case. So if that's the case, then even when you reach 60, you're still going to get 71.5%, and then it's going to go up a little bit. And maybe when you're 65, 66, or 67, then it might be better to switch over to surviving spouse because you get closer to the 100%. So yeah, just keep an eye on the amounts. Call Social Security every now and then. Says, how much is my money for this record this year, and how about next year? And then yeah, so determine it that way. I'm a surviving spouse and receive what spouse received, then next month receive what I was receiving before surviving, then back to his. Why back and forth from his record of mine? Oh, but I have no idea. Why would they do that? Um, is that the actual check or the letters? One of the problems with the system is anytime anybody goes into MCS, the internal Social Security system, and they push a button to do something, then somewhere in the country there's a contracted printing office that prints off the letters, and you get a letter, and then it says your benefit is going to be this, and then the person pushes the button again, another letter goes out, and so they're so confusing. Um, if that's the case, then that's probably it. They just got strange letters. But if the actual benefit amount is going up and down, then someone's messing up big time somewhere. I would call the local office and find out, hey, what's going on here? What are y'all doing? So, Arjan, oh, thank you for what if I'm a disability and he is 74? Oh, thank you for the support. I appreciate it. My coffee money for the day. What if I'm disability and he is 74? Same type of situation. If you're on disability, and you're at least 62 years old, sounds like he is 74. You're currently married. Um, if you are at least 62 and he's receiving benefits, then if his benefit amount is twice your benefit amount, then you can receive benefits on his record. So call up Social Security and see if there's any more money for you there. Let's see here. I'm jumping around. We've only got a few more minutes, so let me jump around and see people I don't recognize here. I'm sorry, I'm going to miss a lot of questions today. I'm married in a second marriage with two kids on benefits, and they are 11 and 13. First marriage for 11 years, but don't know if they made enough for two times what I qualified. Should I risk investing? Um, but the children might be able to, you might not be eligible for benefits because, one half or whatever, but are the children eligible for benefits on that person's record? If that's the person's, the children's father, adopted natural father, then maybe, I would definitely, yeah, I definitely or the other spouse, see if the children are entitled to benefits on that record. So if the children are receiving benefits on your record and you're like, well, that's it. Well, but if the other parent is also receiving benefits, Social Security always looks for the highest record. So you're like, oh, the kids are receiving benefits. So I guess they're good. No, they could receive more on the other record. All right. We should have over 1,000 likes. Give love, Dad. Ah, thank you, Hungry Ghost. I appreciate it. Awesome community out there, always looking out. Apologies if you covered this. Married 10 years, divorced years ago. I am retired. My ex is 64. He may still be working. Divorced many years ago. Social Security said I must wait for him to die to claim. Okay. Um, Basically, that sounds like it's a numbers issue. That right now, because he is still out there alive and kicking, that means you're only eligible to up to 50%, and your full benefit amount is more than that. So right now, you're not eligible. So it sounds like Social Security did the right thing. They finished their sentence and they said, right now, you're not eligible. But if, as a surviving spouse, hopefully they didn't put it that way, the way you wrote it, but I'm sure they didn't. Hopefully they didn't. But as a surviving spouse, you're entitled to up to 100%. So if anything should happen to that person, then then you file for benefits. And people always ask me, so how do I know if something happened? I don't keep in touch with that person. Then you call up Social Security every year or so and say, hey, I want to file for surviving spouse benefits on this person's record. And they say, you can't. And you say, why? And it says, well, person's not, you know, the person is still out there. So you say, okay, all right, we'll talk to you in a few months. And you just keep checking every now and then. If I'm 3 years older than my wife and I'm the higher earner, she collects as 62. Can I take a spousal and let mine grow until 70? No. Um, you're that law changed in 2016. I think you're talking about the file and suspend strategy. Um, so the lower earning spouse, this is called a split strategy. The lower earning spouse goes ahead and collects benefits at 62, and then the higher earning spouse continues to work and then files at 65, 67, and 70, or whatever the case may be. And then once you file, then the spouse files on your record, but you have to be receiving benefits. And if you receive benefits and suspend, then that person's benefit will stop as well. So I want to apply for survivor benefits. What's the earliest date I can apply, and when can I call set an appointment? So survivor benefits, the earliest you can do it if you're not disabled is 60 years old, and about 2 or 3 months before you hit 60 years old, call and schedule an appointment. All right, let's see. When will the old man sign that fairness bill? I don't know. I keep getting the work program information from Social Security. Keep getting the work. So that's probably the ticket to work, maybe. On the IEDS, my ex-spouse just turned 62. I'm on my own SSDI. Can I file in his benefits? I'm 54. We were married 10 years. No, yeah, you have to be 62 as well. Yeah. So you have to be just as every spouse benefits, you have to be 62 as well. Let's see here. All right. I'm 51 now and receiving disability. My wife passed away in 2016 at the age of 41. Do I have to wait to apply for survivor benefit? Is it better? Yeah, it doesn't look like you've met the 7-year rule. So you would have to wait till you're 60 to receive benefits, but it really depends on how long you've been on disability. Um, you know, well, you just turned. Uh, I would check 2016, and ooh, yeah, I don't think you're going to be eligible because of the 7-year rule. But I would reach out to Social Security and have them check the years and the numbers for your particular claim, and just call and say, hey, I want to file for DWIB, DWB, Disabled Widows Benefits, and they'll check and they'll see if you've came in under the line there. If not, then unfortunately you have to wait till you're 60 years old. All right. Oh, we are over an hour, and I've got tons of questions, and I'm sorry, but not able to get to the rest of them here. I will be back again tomorrow, answer a whole bunch of questions. And tomorrow's topic of the day, I'll maybe make it a little bit shorter so we can answer more questions then. So I apologize, but I appreciate everybody.